What's going on there, YouTube? And welcome to Fresh Comic Stories. Guys, this is the channel that we basically sit down and cover different kinds of comic book stories. Now, guys, today we are going to jump back over to Marvel and continue our coverage over the Ultimate Marvel Universe. Now, today we're going to pick up once again with Ultimate X-Men. In this storyline right here, we get introduced to the new Sentinels, but also the new X-Men. And so guys, I do hope you enjoyed this video. And if you do, please hit that like button down below and also subscribe for more comic book stories like this in the near future. Also, any suggestions on books I should read? Well, please let me know in the comments below, because you never know, your suggestion could be a future video down the road. But let's dive into Ultimate X-Men Sentinels. Okay, so getting back into the X-Men, we are picking back up with Wolverine at a bar. Of course, you know where Wolverine usually goes, except he runs into some people at the bar who figures out that he is a mutant. Of course, they want him to leave, and so they pull a shotgun thinking that it will work on him. Right when Wolverine is about to show them that the shotgun won't work on him, you have Storm and Bishop arrive to invite him to join the new X-Men. If you missed our last few videos, Cyclops has disbanded the X-Men after the death of Charles Xavier. But Bishop and Storm formed a new team and now here to recruit Wolverine. This is where we pick up with a new character in the Ultimate Marvel Universe. We pick up with Strife, and the name should sound familiar to you main Marvel Universe fans, because in the main Marvel Universe, he is the clone of Cable. Except here in the Ultimate Marvel Universe, Strife is not the clone of Cable, mainly because Cable is just a future version of Wolverine. Except he is a mutant and we just don't get the chance to learn what his powers are just yet. But we do see him right now at some rally for a group called the Mutant Liberation Front. And these are the mutants who believe that humans have killed Charles Xavier, even though we know it was Ultimate Cable who killed him. But we see that Strife is trying to get these people to believe it is time to go to war with the humans, that mutants have been living in fear for too long. Except while he is going on about this war, we see the new models of Sentinels appear, which if you guys remember in our last couple videos, someone is making Sentinels once again. But while the battle is going on, you have Strife just disappear like he knew they were coming. This is where we jump over to the old X-Men like Cyclops, Jean Grey, Iceman, and Rogue, who have turned the mansion of Charles Xavier into an actual school. Now, in our last video, when they came back home from the Morlock storyline, they were greeted by Psylocke. This is where she states how Charles Xavier had her and another mutant working undercover for a while. Basically, they were undercover X-Men, except when they lost contact with Charles Xavier, they got worried. Plus, they saw the news that he was dead. And that is when she asked the X-Men, hey, is it true? And you have Cyclops say, yes, it is true, Charles Xavier is dead. Then he adds on how he disbanded the X-Men. Of course, Psylocke is not happy because to her it looks like that Charles Xavier dream is now gone because Cyclops has turned his back on Charles Xavier's dream. This is where we pick up with the new X-Men who are right now just chilling in their new base. Now, the first part of this section of the story is just Wolverine telling Bishop how he does not trust him. But the main point of this section is when you have Bishop begin training Dazzler. In our last video, Bishop told us that Dazzler has the ability to be a powerful mutant. This is where he explains to her that she is not just making a light show in midair, she is actually making air molecules explode around her, and how he believes that she can make other kinds of molecules explode around her, not just air molecules, which means she can tap into a level of power that not even Charles Xavier knew about. After he trains Dazzler a tad bit, we see Bishop go talk to Storm once again about how it's time to recruit one more person for his new X-Men team. That is when we see Bishop and Storm go back over to the X-Mansion, which again is now just a school for mutants. This time he is here to talk to Psylocke because she's the mutant he wants on his new team. Right when he asks her about joining the new X-Men, that is when the news goes off on TV, explaining how a bunch of mutants have attacked City Hall as a response to the death of Charles Xavier. Since these mutants still believe it was humans, but then reports come out stating that new Sentinels are out there as well to kill the mutants, and so you have Psylocke agree to join the new X-Men. Then her, Bishop, and Storm teleport back with the rest of the X-Men to City Hall to do battle with the new Sentinels. Now, except getting the chance to watch the battle with the new X-Men and the Sentinels, we actually pick up with Hank McCoy, aka Beast. Remember, a couple videos ago, we learned that he was not dead. He has been alive this whole time, and S.H.I.E.L.D. was forcing him to work on the cure for the legacy virus they found that could kill mutants. Except while working on the cure, Charles Xavier used his powers to make Beast believe that he has been communicating with his family and friends. In reality, he has not. The other X-Men still believe that Beast is dead. But right now we see him escaping S.H.I.E.L.D. to finally go back home to his friends and the one girl he loves, which is Storm. This leads us back over to the new X-Men fighting against the new model of the Sentinels, where honestly it's just your usual battle between good and evil, where we see the X-Men just kicking butt. Except the biggest moment of this fight is actually Dazzler. Bishop kept telling us that Dazzler has not tapped into her full potential with her powers. And so we see her do it right here. And she basically explodes the air molecules around the Sentinels to the point where it kills multiple of them. It's a huge explosion and it helps wrap up the battle for the new X-Men. This leads to Strife greeting the new X-Men and saying thank you for them helping out with the Sentinels. Except you have Bishop state that Strife and his fellow mutants are in the wrong, that Charles Xavier was not killed by humans, instead he was killed by a mutant. Except Strife states that humans led it to the point where a mutant would kill his own kind. And so you have Strife state that what the X-Men have been doing for years, trying to build a peaceful world, will never work. He tells the new X-Men that he will not stop, but right before he leaves, we see that Pyro agrees what Strife is saying, how there will never be a world where humans and mutants can live as one. And so you have Pyro actually leave with Strife. This is where we come to find out that it was Psylocke using her powers to make Pyro want to leave the X-Men and go with Strife. Remember that Psylocke is a telepath as well, and so she used her powers as a way to force his mind to think he wants to go with Strife, but to only be a spy for the X-Men because Strife cannot be trusted. This leads us a few moments later where we see that Bishop and Wolverine are attacking a random Sentinel. Now the reason why they are doing this is to figure out who is making the new Sentinels. And so what they do to this single Sentinel is to make sure it takes enough damage, that it is badly injured but can still fly back home to its base hoping to get repaired. And with the Sentinel flying back home to its base, Bishop will use the tracker on it to figure out where it's coming from. This leads to the new X-Men suiting back up and locating the new base of the Sentinels, only to find out that the building that is the location where the Sentinels are coming from is holding an army size of them. This lets the X-Men know that whoever is in charge literally means business. They are trying to wipe out the mutant race. But as they are walking around the building to look for more clues, they find out who's behind all of this, which is the Fenris Twins, Man, I have a hard time pronouncing that word. And we have not seen them in a very long time. So Andrea and Andreas von Strucker are co-presidents of the Fenris International, a global investment firm. The Struckers are two mutants that are business tycoons who sought for mutant supremacy through economic control. The last time we saw them was in the Cry Wolf storyline where they try to get Rogue and Gambit to help them out. Except of course, it did not work out for them. But they were gone for a while. Also, they are able to shoot out some kind of energy blast when they are holding hands with one another. And so seeing them here now as the new people in charge of the Sentinels is a crazy turn of events, because they are mutants who have helped build robots to kill other mutants. Except this leads us over to Pyro. And remember that Pyro joined Strife in the Mutant Liberation Group, but really he is there to be a spy for the new X-Men to figure out what Strife's real game plan is. The problem is that when Pyro gets a little too comfortable being in their base, that is when you have Strife reveal that he knows the X-Men sent him here to spy on them. At first, Pyro thinks he is in trouble, except you have Strife tell him that he is in a safe place and that he has nothing to hide. This leads us back over to the new X-Men fighting against the Fenris Twins and the new Sentinels. And really, this chapter of the story is just to give us what we fans truly want sometime in comics, just characters fighting against each other and giving us some good action. Now, of course, the X-Men were able to defeat these first batch of Sentinels in a hurry, except that is when you have Psylocke realize that the Fenris Twins are no longer in the room. They are the ones that have to be stopped if the X-Men plan on completing their mission here. But the story shifts back over to Strife once again, where we see him right now at another rally for his group. Now this rally is different from the others. Reasoning why is because at this one, you have humans. This is where things may seem to be confusing here, because earlier Strife stated how his goal was to start a war with humans. Well, at this point, we see him stating how he is trying to force the human race to respect the mutant race. They want to be treated as equal with humans. Again, completely different than what he stated earlier in this story. And maybe I did miss something here. But except when the humans start a riot in the middle of Strife's speech, of course you have both sides starting to fight against each other. But once again, we see Strife leave right before he is caught in the fight. But this time, you have Pyro see him leaving and wondering where he went to. But before he is able to investigate, that is when you have more Sentinels appear at this rally. This leads us over to the point where we see the new X-Men still at the base of the Fenris Twins. They are trying to find the twins, but of course they ran into more Sentinels who have gotten in their way, which of course the team is able to defeat these guys and kindly wrap things up pretty quickly. Except when they weren't looking, that is when you had the twins able to capture Psylocke and now holding her as a hostage. And all it takes is one single energy blast from their hands and she is dead. That is when you have Bishop reappear and states that they need to move away from his wife, letting us know that in the future, Bishop and Psylocke are married. And this is huge because in the Ultimate Marvel Universe, letting you guys know right now, we do not get the chance to learn much about Bishop. He only appears in the videos we already have done in like one more story. After that, we do not get the chance to see him ever again. And so finding out that in the future him and Psylocke are married is interesting. Except we also find out that she died in the future as well. But with his emotions all over the place, he actually ends up using his powers and kills the twins before they are able to kill Psylocke. And this is a huge shock for everybody in the room because Bishop just killed 2 people. Now, while I was reading this, I was kind of like, well, Wolverine killed people, Colossus had killed Charles Xavier's son, and pretty sure other people have died by the hands of the X-Men. But before they are able to argue about anything, that is when you have Strife appear in the room with them, letting us know there is some kind of connection between him and the Fenris Twins. This is where you have Psylocke use her powers to read his mind, to tell us that he was part of the Twins' plan. The Twins hired Strife because he has the ability to control people's emotions, and the Twins wanted him to start a protest with mutants and use his powers to control their emotions, to make them angry to the point they agree to start a war with humans. This leads to part 2 of their plan, where they hired Bolivar Trask to make the new Sentinels. Once enough mutants agree to this war concept against humans, the American government would give the Twins a fat military contract where they'll be banking in money for a long period of time. And this would help the Twins' plans again down the road, where they are trying to get mutants be more superior through economic ways. And this leads to Strife freaking out and going to the control panels for the Sentinels and overriding the system, where now every single Sentinel that was made in that building is being sent out to kill all of the mutants at the mutant liberation protest that Strife and Pyro were at earlier. And this is huge because if the X-Men don't do something soon, they will have a bunch of dead mutants in a few minutes. And so you have Angel stay behind with Trask to work on finding a way to shut them down, while the rest of the new X-Men go to stop them from killing the Mutant Liberation Front. And this leads to the new X-Men going over to fight against the new Sentinels before they are able to kill anybody. And you have an all-out battle between the X-Men and the new Sentinels. And we once again see that Dazzler is able to use her powers to a new kind of level. Now, the biggest point of this fight is not actually watching the X-Men fighting against the Sentinels, because it is something we have seen so many times in comics. And so to make this moment to be more special than others, when one of the Sentinels is about to crash land on top of Storm and Dazzler, at the last second, you have Beast appear and save them at the last second. This is huge because this is letting Storm know that Beast is actually alive. The last time she saw him, she thought he died back in the New Mutant storyline. That is when you have Bishop walk away to call up Cable in the future. And this is us finding out that Cable and Bishop are working together, which is huge because this whole time before this moment, it has seemed like that Bishop was at war against Cable. Now we come to find out that Bishop and Cable are working together and their plan is coming together, and that they had expected the return of Beast at this exact moment. And this leads us to the future where we pick up with Cable and he tells us that Charles Xavier is not dead, that his plan is to actually train Charles Xavier, but they have to move because the base Cable was using is now under attack and they do not stand a chance against whoever is coming for them. And you also have Cable tell Charles Xavier that he was able to repair Charles Xavier's spine, meaning that Charles Xavier can walk now. And this leads us back over to the present day, where we see that the new X-Men is shocked about the fact that Beast is alive, especially Storm, since this is the man she used to love. And so with him being here right now in front of her is huge. You also have Wolverine do his sniff test to confirm that it is in fact Beast. But before Beast is able to explain how he did not die and where he has been, you have the police arrive at the scene, meaning that the X-Men must leave for now before getting into another fight with the police. which then jumps us forward in time, where we pick up with Beast explaining about he was not dead and how he was being held by S.H.I.E.L.D. After you have Psylocke do her test on him to confirm that he is telling the truth, you then have Bishop step up and say that in his timeline, Beast is alive and well, so this must be Beast. This is where we learn more about the legacy virus in this universe. Remember that S.H.I.E.L.D. held Beast as a hostage basically and told him that he was finding a cure for the virus. In reality, the virus that he was working on was another attempt to recreate the super soldier serum to give America another Captain America. In Bishop's future, it does work on humans, but when the virus comes in contact with mutants, of course, it kills them. We then jump back over to the X Mansion, where we see a game of baseball being played by Cyclops School and Emma Frost School as well, which if you read the main Marvel Universe X-Men, the X-Men play baseball a lot of times as a way to pass time by. Now while you have both schools playing, you have Emma Frost ask Jean Grey if she has seen Shinobi Shaw, her boyfriend, where Jean states that when she last saw him, he was with Gerald. Now we learned a couple videos ago that both of them are working for the Hellfire Club, where they are trying to control the Phoenix. We then see them try an attempt to control the Phoenix a few hours after the baseball game, because while everyone is downstairs enjoying the after game barbecue by Cyclops, you have Gerald and Shinobi Shaw walk into the room of Jean Grey, where they try to give her some kind of drug, hoping it will work on her and be able to control the Phoenix, which of course it doesn't work, and you have the Phoenix take over Jean's body and tell them that she is going to kill them right here and right now, which she does by blowing up the room, which of course does kill them. And this leads us a few hours after the incident, where we pick up with Emma Frost, who arrives at this random building, where we find out that she has been working for the Hellfire Club this whole time, which is huge because Emma Frost has been around for a long time, and we are now just finding out that she has been working for the Hellfire Club. But she states how that Gerald and Shinobi Shaw plan did not work, meaning that they have more plans to get the Phoenix under their control. And this leads us into the future, where we pick up with Cable and Charles Xavier, where you have Cable tell Charles Xavier that, listen, in my timeline, we all failed because you weren't trained enough to stop the big threat. And so my goal right now is to get you trained up and take you back to your timeline to get you ready. But that is when you have Charles Xavier ask Cable, who are you talking about? What wiped out the Earth? Who did all of this? And you have Cable say, you will find out soon enough. And that is when we get a small glimpse of Ultimate Apocalypse. And this is where we are going to end today's video. So guys, please leave me a like down below and also subscribe for more comic book stories like this in the near future. Also, any suggestions on books I should read? Well, please let me know in the comments below, because you never know, your suggestion could be a future video down the road. But guys, I'm out of here and I will see you on the next comic book video. Later, guys.